Taylor Swift, Blake Lively, and the album that shook Hollywood did ruin the friendship and their bond. You guys, buckle up, because today we are diving deep into one of the juiciest, most talked about celebrity sagas of the year. And trust me, this one has everything. We've got Taylor Swift, who is literally the biggest star on the planet right now, announcing her 12th studio album in a way that basically broke the internet. Is, we've got whispers that one of the songs might secretly be about her friendship with Blake Lively, a friendship that, up until recently, seemed unshakable, like one of those golden Hollywood pairings you just assume is forever. And then we've got lawsuits, subpoenas, threats of leaked private texts, Taylor's own dad stepping into the ring, and theories upon theories flying around the internet about what really went down. Number 40. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's get into it, because this story is messy, dramatic, and honestly feels like it was written for one of Taylor's own albums. When Taylor Swift announced her new album, The Life of a Showgirl, she did it on a stage that no one saw coming. Instead of a glossy Vogue interview, instead of some carefully crafted Instagram rollout, she dropped the bombshell on the New Heights podcast. Yes, the podcast hosted by Travis Kelce and his brother Jason. And let's pause right there for a second, because this is already major. Taylor Swift almost never does interviews. Her entire brand for the last several years has been this mystique of only communicating through her lyrics, her visuals, her Easter eggs. She lets the music do the talking. So the fact that she showed up on Travis's podcast, her boyfriend's podcast, and opened up not only about her personal life, but also unveiled the track list of her new project. That was insane. Fans were freaking out. Swifties had alerts going off on their phones. Millions of people tuned in within the first few hours. Literally, the podcast hit 5.6 million views in just 5 hours, which is record-breaking territory. They even had to tweet out that the episode had crashed servers. Like, Taylor and Travis together just broke the internet. But what really sent the fan base into overdrive wasn't just the announcement of the album itself. It was what Taylor said about it. She described The Life of a Showgirl as a project that wasn't about the glitz and glamour of the stage, but about what happens offstage. She emphasized that every track on the album mattered, that you couldn't take one away or add one in without changing the entire story. And then came the track list reveal. And that's when things got really interesting. Among the song titles Taylor revealed, one instantly set off alarm bells: Ruin the Friendship. Now, if you've been following Taylor's life even casually, you know she's had some incredibly high-profile friendships over the years. Karlie Kloss, Selena Gomez. The entire Girl Squad era, friendship has always been a recurring theme in her music and her public persona. But one of her most stable, most beloved friendships in the eyes of the public has been her relationship with Blake Lively. Taylor and Blake have been intertwined for years. Blake directed the music video for I Bet You Think About Me, which is one of Taylor's most beloved vault tracks. Taylor even featured Blake and Ryan Reynolds' daughter James's voice at the start of her song Gorgeous. These two weren't just friends, their families were connected. Taylor was Auntie Tay to the Reynolds kids. Blake and Ryan were fixtures in Taylor's life. So when Swifties saw the title Ruin the Friendship listed as track 6 on the new album, the theories exploded. Was this song about Blake Lively? Had something gone wrong? And if so, what? The whispers about a possible rift between Taylor and Blake didn't come out of nowhere. They actually trace back to last summer, when Blake began facing backlash over her involvement in the movie It Ends With Us. At first, it seemed like just another celebrity controversy that would blow over. And place. But as the months went on, things snowballed. By December, the New York Times had published an explosive article detailing how Blake had allegedly filed a complaint against her co-star and director, Justin Baldoni, accusing him of harassment and fostering a toxic environment on set. The accusations were heavy, and the Hollywood press lit up. But Justin didn't stay silent. Instead, he came out swinging with a $400 million defamation countersuit. Yes, you heard that right. $400 million targeting not just Blake, but also Ryan Reynolds and their publicist. And here's where Taylor Swift's name suddenly got dragged into the mess. According to Justin Baldoni's legal team, Blake had allegedly tried to leverage her close relationships with Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds to force through certain script rewrites. In their lawsuit, they even referenced a text message in which Blake supposedly referred to Taylor and Ryan as her dragons. Dragons. Hair protectors in conflicts. And then came the subpoena. Justin's lawyers attempted to subpoena Taylor herself, arguing that she might have knowledge of Blake's alleged behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Swifties were horrified. Suddenly, Taylor's name was in all these ugly headlines about lawsuits and harassment claims that had nothing to do with her. Taylor's team quickly released a statement clarifying her role. She had licensed her song My Tears Ricochet for the film, one of many artists to do so. Taylor's tin. But she had nothing to do with casting, production, or any creative decisions. She hadn't even seen the film until weeks after it premiered. In other words, this was a blatant attempt to use Taylor's name to escalate the drama. But things didn't stop there. According to court filings and insider reports, Justin Baldoni's team claimed they had information that Blake had threatened to leak 10 years' worth of private text messages between herself and Taylor unless Taylor publicly supported her side of the story. Let that sink in. 10 years of private texts between two of the most famous women in the world. That is the kind of scandal that could shake Hollywood to its core. The alleged demand was that Taylor post a public message of support for Blake, especially after Blake skipped out on the Super Bowl that year. If she didn't, those texts would supposedly be released. Now, Taylor's legal team reportedly pushed back hard, calling this extortion. And in a wild twist, it later came out that the person who had gone to Justin Baldoni's camp with this claim was none other than Scott Swift, Taylor's father. According to reports from outlets like Page 6, Scott Swift voluntarily gave information to Justin's legal team as part of a back-channel deal. The idea was simple: drop the subpoena against Taylor, and in exchange, Scott would provide details showing just how far Blake might have been willing to go to drag Taylor into the mess. Think about how wild that is. Taylor's own father essentially stepped into the legal battlefield to protect his daughter from being further entangled. In doing so, he may have confirmed that yes, at least behind the scenes, things between Taylor and Blake had gotten complicated. In the end, the judge ruled that these allegations were inadmissible in court. The subpoena against Taylor was dropped, but the damage in terms of public perception had already been done. Suddenly, people weren't just speculating about Blake's movie drama. They were speculating about whether her decade-long friendship with Taylor had collapsed under the weight of this scandal. So now, fast forward to Taylor's album reveal. She says the songs are about her life off stage during the Eras tour. She talks about how every track is there for a reason, that nothing is filler, that the album represents exactly how her life has felt. Fans immediately connected the dots. Could this be about Blake? After all, by March, headlines were everywhere suggesting that Taylor and Blake weren't speaking anymore. Swifties pointed out that Taylor hadn't been seen publicly with Blake in months. Blake wasn't spotted at Eras tour shows after being a fixture early on. Ryan Reynolds had made some subtle-seeming jokes that fans interpreted as shade. So what do you guys think? Has ruined the friendship about Blake Lively? Did one of Hollywood's most beloved friendships implode under the weight of lawsuits, threats, and backroom drama? Or is the song about someone else entirely, maybe Karlie Kloss, maybe another figure from Taylor's past, and we're all just reading too much into it? One thing is certain: when Taylor Swift writes a song, she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows the speculation it will cause. She knows the way we'll dissect every line. And if she did write about Blake, she's chosen to tell her truth in the way she always has, through music. Until the album drops, all we can do is speculate. But let's be real, speculation is half the fun. And with that, we've reached the end of today's deep dive. If you're still here, congratulations. You just survived one of the wildest Hollywood sagas of the year. From album reveals to lawsuits, from leaked text threats to broken friendships, this story has had it all. And somehow, I don't think it's over yet. Because if there's one thing we know about Taylor Swift, it's this: the story is never really finished.